So, Mike, what the hell have the Senate done this time?
Well, the Senate this time has yet again put together a bill that now appears quite likely to pass, that unites Democrats, sharply divides Republicans on an issue where most Republican voters and most Republican senators are adamantly opposed to the Democrats' position. But Senate Republican leadership and a small handful of others have given the Senate Democrats more than enough votes to where it looks like they're going to be able to pass this thing in the next 48 hours or so. It really is too bad. I mean, we could still stop it. If all the Republicans decided to band together, we could still stop it, but the clock's ticking.
Yeah, but you have Murkowski and Romney. So you're not going to get...
Yeah, but the remaining 31 of us who didn't vote for this have strong concerns, big concerns that are backed up by voters all across America. Not all of them Republicans, by the way, but certainly an overwhelming supermajority of Republicans in the country have grave difficulty with this. You know, I stood on the Senate floor all day on Saturday. I spoke for 4 continuous hours, trying again and again and again to get amendments pending in the Senate, meaning they're in the queue to be voted on, to be addressed. The Democrats wouldn't let us do it. I put up an amendment, for example, making sure that this aid wouldn't end up going to Hamas. You send this through any of these entities, through the UN. They make a lot of hay about the fact that, we cut UNRWA out of any aid. Oh, great. There are 19 UN agencies operating in Gaza. And guess what? You send aid to Gaza, trying to say we're going to send this to Gaza, but not Hamas. That's not real. I don't even know how to analogize that. It's like saying we're going to give money to the UK, but it won't go to the British. It's not a thing.
So hang on. $90 billion. What's in this package? What are we sending?
Of the $95 billion in the package, about $60 billion of it goes to Ukraine. Well, within that portion of it, you've got about $8 billion that goes to direct economic assistance to the Ukrainian government, where the Ukrainian government is expected to spend that on things like paying all of Zelensky's bureaucrats, every government employee in Ukraine, civilians, the whole thing, for an entire year. They're also free to use that for their own welfare benefit system. They're also free to use that for their own sort of Ukrainian crony capitalism sort of thing, which they've got going on. For example, we've got actual instances of this type of aid that we've given to Ukraine over the last couple of years being used to buy people concert tickets in Ukraine, to shore up the viability of clothing stores in Ukraine. It's a real motherlode of opportunities here, opportunities for those who are close to the Ukrainian corruption. Now, look, we could have a real debate here if this were just military aid, but there's so much in this package that is not military aid that's going to other things. Also in the bill, you've got a total of between $9 and $10 billion that's going, loosely speaking, to some type of humanitarian aid. And it just says in these 2 different accounts that add up to between $9 and $10 billion. It says that they can go to these loose humanitarian concerns in and around Ukraine and in and around Israel, which means that in theory, the Biden administration could channel most or even all of that aid to Gaza. It's what Gaza does when we give them humanitarian aid. It's not Gaza broadly. This is Hamas. Well, Hamas in the past has used our aid money, whether funneled through the United Nations, as it usually is, or otherwise. And they build tunnels, they buy arms, they prepare to attack innocent Israelis and do horrible things. This is giving them more of an opportunity to do that very thing that resulted in October 7th. But make no mistake, Hamas is not content with October 7th. That's just a preview of more things to come. All they need are the resources, and apparently we might be providing them with those.
Mike, it's Pat Gray. Just to be clear, I want to make sure I understand. You are anti-Ukrainian concerts, then, as well as anti-Ukrainian clothing stores.
Yeah, I got that too. Good catch.
Did you?
Good catch, Pat.
Thank you. He was just going to let that slide, and I don't want it to.
Mike, I have to tell you,
Ukrainians can go to concerts, they can buy the clothing they want, but not on the American taxpayer dime. That's my position.
I have to tell you, Mike, at every corner, it seems, since 2008, when we're talking about big money, the American people have not had it. Big corporations have gotten it. The big banks have gotten it. The Fed has gotten it. Foreign countries have gotten it. The clothing stores in Ukraine have gotten it. But the ma and pa, I had to buy a black suit over the weekend, and I went into this great, legendary clothing store in New Haven, Connecticut called Ferrucci's. And as I'm talking to the guy behind the counter, and he's like, COVID killed us, man. It killed the clothing industry. They're struggling. The people that made really good suits for like Brooks Brothers and stuff for him. He said they used to have 2,000 employees. He said they got down to, I think it was 150 employees, and now they're back up to 500. And everything has changed, and not a dime has been helping out these companies. They destroyed us. And we were buying, people were getting stuff and they were buying concert tickets here in America, while the real people trying to keep the doors from falling off, no pun intended with Boeing, because they're apparently working to keep the doors flying off. The people who are really doing the hard work, they never get a break from this government, ever.
Never get a break from it, and it never sleeps. It never stops spending. And, the more we spend with, multi-trillion-dollar deficits year after year after year, it starts to add up, and it starts to make every dollar that we have, that Americans earn through their hard work, buy less. The average American household every single month has to shell out an additional $1,000 just to live, just to put a roof over your head and groceries on the table.
So what is this really all about? This spending. What is this really all about? Who's really getting the money here? What favors are being done? What NGOs are taking that money and then funneling it back to an election here? What's happening?
Well, the biggest single beneficiary from these, probably defense contractors, people who make arms. Now, there are plenty of people who are patriotic and who are not part of what I would call the military-industrial complex. And by that, I mean those who worship at the altar of war so that they can make more money profiteering off of war. But there are a number of those, and it's a real thing. It's been warned of since President Eisenhower, that the bigger it gets, the more powerful it becomes. And I'd say the military-industrial complex is the single biggest beneficiary from a package like this. Sometimes some of my colleagues will even let the masks slip. Some of my Republican colleagues have done that in recent weeks by saying things like, look, we've got to get this thing done, and we should get this done, because this will create American jobs. It's good for us to support this war in Ukraine, because it'll create American jobs. Because, Glenn, when we put these, many tens of billions of dollars into these weapons procurement contracts for weapons, by the way, that are going to go to others and not us, and that are actually going to commandeer our procurement process in such a way that we'll have access to weapons for our own uses later rather than sooner. That employs people in America. That employs people who make a lot of these weapons systems that we're going to be sending over there. But these are things that are, we have a finite stash of them. We've already exhausted a lot of them. it's already going to take us, even before we add this package to it, years, possibly until 2030 or 2035, to replace a lot of this stuff. What happens when we deplete more and more of this stuff while unable to produce more here at home? It really is concerning. We become less and less capable of protecting the American homeland from whatever attack we might face here. This is deeply concerning.
Okay, so Mike Lee in the Senate fighting hard along with, there are about 13 of you, are there not?
Well,
how many are fighting? No, there's 31.
31 Senate Republicans who are opposing them.
Yeah.
And think about what that means for a minute. That means this is an overwhelming supermajority of Republicans in the United States Senate who are against it. And yet our Senate Republican leadership is all for it. They're teaming up with Democrats to promote Democratic policies to unite Democrats on issues that are particular to the left. This is concerning.
So last week, gang, you stopped the bill in the Senate on the border. You got to do it again. You make a difference. You do make a difference. Call your senator and say, in no uncertain terms, you're not to keep giving my children and my great-great-grandchildren's money away. We don't have the money. We don't have enough is enough. My gosh. Mike, thanks for the good fight. I appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.